What's going on, everyone? This is Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. Today I want to talk a little bit about federal contracts. A lot of people will come to me and ask, how do I register on Sam? Well, I already registered on Sam. I got my cage code. I got all these things, but you guys are only focusing on federal. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about why you may need to pivot, or you need to understand that there is a difference with federal contracting, local contracting, and corporate contracting, which I teach in my course, GovCon now, right after the intro. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheenapreneur channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. So basically, when you think about government contracting, most people think about the movie War Dogs, right? So you have this arms dealer who is buying guns from somewhere and selling to the government, buying ammo and selling it to the government, all these things, right? And so you're like, wow, okay, this is like defense. And that was a defense contract. That is for Department of Defense was looking for a defense item, weapons and ammo, right? So everything is not predicated on War Dogs. There's contracts for plants. There's contracts for even like these awards. They have contracts where they're looking for companies to make 10,000 awards and then use for various reasons. So that's federal, but federal is broad, but also you have local, which is, in my opinion, even more broad, because you'll have stuff that's local that wouldn't necessarily go over to the federal market. You won't be able to reach out and touch it. For example, when it comes to like the plants, you might see landscaping contracts, you might see like literally grass cutting contracts where all they want you to do is cut the grass. They don't even want you to do landscaping, or it might be combined with some kind of other contract where it's facility management and landscaping. But on the local side, it's maybe they literally want you to plant flowers. So you're like, wow, okay, this is like defense. And that was a defense contract. That is for Department of Defense was looking for a defense item, weapons and ammo, right? I've seen 5-figure contracts for planting flowers in the city area for one season. So you're looking at just federal instead of branching out to some of these other contracts that are local. Now, local contracting is still government contract. It's still the government. It's the local government, municipalities. And then you have the federal government, that the federal agencies such as the Department of Defense or Department of Treasury or Department of Interior or the Army or the Navy or Air Force. All those are federal contracts, but then there's still monies that come down on the local level that has a varying amount of contracts that are available and ready for you to service, ready for you to bid on, ready for you to at least build some sort of rapport with the county or a contracting officer or someone, a facility manager. And I'm always going to use facility management and stuff like that because, of course, that's the industry that I'm in. So usually I'm going to give those as examples. But there may be a facility manager that you've built a rapport with over time. Maybe you did work for them at their residence, and so they know that you do great work. And so they might invite you to an ITB, an invitation for bid, where you bid on something similar like landscaping with the local government, with just that city, with just that county, with just that agency itself. Because even with some of the counties, they might have like watershed, they might have the police department. So it might, if it's, for example, here in Georgia, if it's Fulton County, one of the largest, if not the largest county in Georgia, they're gonna have a whole bunch of other agencies within that agency. So for me, it's like federal is, yes, there are usually larger contracts with federal, pretty much, yeah. The contracts are typically going to be larger on the grand scheme of things. You probably won't win I'm not even going to say you're not going to win a $30 million contract on the local side. I have seen large construction projects on the local side for counties, so I'm going to take that back. But typically speaking, federal is going to be as a whole larger. They just put a lot more stuff together, whereas local, typically it could be smaller. Some of my smallest contracts were on the federal side, so don't mistake it. But on the local side, they're sometimes broken up a little bit more, where each service is going to have its own individual contract, because the municipalities have a way that they have to segment their money, and they may not say all landscaping services. It might just be planting, it might just be grass cutting, it might just be, just trimming the trees, just trimming the bushes, whatever the case may be. It might be a little bit smaller. To me, just for me, If you are just really trying to get your foot in the door and you've registered on SAM and you know, trying to figure out how to, you know, get your past performance, they always say it's hard. The hardest thing is getting that first federal contract. But on the local side, you can get your first local contract fairly easily. For those who don't know my story, my very first contract I won, I actually had to cancel that myself. So I got away scot-free, luckily. But then my second contract, same thing, bid on it, won, 6-figure contract, basically right out the gate with very little money. And I actually got an advance for that contract. For those who haven't heard that, I have a whole video about my first contract on my channel, but it really just let me know that I can do it. So going out there and bidding on the local contracts were just a lot more appealing to me than federal. And it wasn't even we back then. Back in 2017 when I started, it was just Sheena bidding on stuff. And so I was just trying to get something. So if it was a federal contract that came through that looked like I could do it and within reason, then I would go after it. But local just seemed to be a lot more appealing to me. And with local here in Georgia, it all depends on your state, because there are some states that make you pay for viewing solicitations. I want to say I've only heard of one, but I just feel like there's more. Texas, I've seen where you have to pay to download a solicitation, but a lot of these companies have, a lot of these agencies have moved over to a portal like BidNet, where BidNet, yes, you would have to pay if you go on bidnet.com and you go and you register and you pick all the locations that you want to find bids on. Yes, you will have to pay. However, if an agency in your city, in your state is using BidNet, you do not have to pay. Like, please, I've heard this, I swear, at least 5 times in the last week, 2 weeks, where people are paying for BidNet. I'm all about free first if you can help it until it makes sense for you to pay. You don't have to pay for BidNet. If the agency you are going after is using BidNet, then you don't need to pay. If you know that your state or your city is using BidNet Direct, you know that your agency, wherever you are, is using that, then register. I want you to register on the site without paying, right? Because it should let you register, but then it'll say, oh, you need to upgrade to pay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what it says. It's been a while since I signed up with BidNet. And then what's gonna happen is when that agency has a solicitation that comes out that matches your NIGP or your NIGP codes or your NAICS codes or your description of what you do, they're gonna send you an email from BidNet Direct or BidNet with that solicitation from that agency, and you click on that link and boom, now you're in BidNet for free. So I'll make sure you hear me on that, because that's a big deal. People are paying like $100 a month or whatever it is when you don't need to, because if you're going after like local, like stuff within your area, you're not just going for everything in the world, I don't see the reason why you should pay for BidNet, especially when I told y'all about GovDirections anyway. I don't know if BidNet does federal. I think they do have an extra package for federal, but for me, GovDirections is just the best for me, because like with BidNet, everything may not be on the portal. It might just be the agencies that are participating with BidNet. Whereas GovDirections is all solicitations, federal and local, for the most part. I'm not gonna say all, and you'd be like, Sheena, there was one that wasn't on there. It might be 90% of local and federal solicitations that are put out here on the interwebs is gonna be on GovDirections, as opposed to BidNet, where if I'm understanding how BidNet works, it's only the agencies that are using BidNet to post their solicitations. Because some agencies will have their own internal portal, like they'll have their own portal where they can just host all of their solicitations, all their awards, but some agencies, they don't want to do that. They want to have it all taken care of for them through a third-party service that has the capability of receiving bids and making it more organized. And that's another thing too. If you're looking at some websites and it has .gov, .org, but then you see the .com, and it might make you a little nervous to, you don't know if this website is actually legit. That's a major concern. And so bidnetdirect.com is a commercial website. It's a site that the agency is paying and consumers are paying in order for them to organize solicitations. Don't always go with the ones that you're not familiar with unless it is, just it's kind of like do your research. You can always ask me. I'm willing to share because I have shared some of the websites that I've used, and I don't want anyone to get scammed because there's so many scammy websites out there, and it's only beneficial for you to make sure that you're doing your research and you're not having someone take your money and you're not getting anything from it. So there's also, in addition to scam websites, there's also sites that are just not beneficial anyway, and you're paying for it for nothing, especially if you're not going to get out there and bid. Yeah, I said it. Y'all not going out there and bidding. You're not building a relationship. So what are you paying for this stuff for? Just to say that you're paying for it? Because you're not helping anyone except for the company that you're paying for by not going after opportunities. So just want to put that out there. You don't always have to go the federal route. You can go the local route. And I didn't even touch on corporate. Corporate route is a little bit different. I'd rather do that in a separate video, but corporate is also, you may or may not have to pay on some of these websites. It's a lot more broad than federal, because federal is pretty much mostly on SAM and some other places, but definitely on SAM. Local is going to be usually within the state website, but then sometimes it's on the city and county or whatever website as well, or it may not be on the state website at all. Corporate is more like blah. There's only a few websites that some companies may use, but that's still like huge. These are like multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies that may be on these sites. But then you have, high nine-figure companies that are not using this portal, but they're still a very, very recognizable brand. So, just one of those things where you don't necessarily need to do federal in order to do government contracting or to do contracting, period. Just make sure that you're doing your research and finding out exactly what you're signing up for and not putting all your personal information into everything, because this day and age it's kind of hard not to put your personal data into everything. But right now I can tell you GovDirections is legit, BidNet Direct is legit, Ariba is legit. There's a few out there, and if you have any that you want to leave in the comments and ask like, Sheena, is this legit? Go ahead and drop it in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. It helps your girl out. It definitely helps when you share the videos, even if you're just sharing it with someone that wants to get into government contract and you're like, girl, Sheena talk too much. Just go to minute 10, and just go listen for 1 minute, and that's it. Like, send it to them and tell them exactly where they need to focus their attention on if they don't want to watch the whole video. It really helps me out. Make sure you check out the Circle platform. It's where we share information, and there's over 200 people in the portal now sharing stuff about government contracting. Just make sure you join. It's absolutely free to join. Check out the course, GovCon Now, where I talk about government contracting such as federal, local, corporate contracting. I have something for my veterans because I am your favorite veteran.